This is one of the bedrooms in my newly acquired home, and I think I'm going to convert it into a home office. And I thought this project would be a home run for my home's value since more and more people are working from home, but that actually might not be the case, especially if you don't consider this one thing. This home office makeover is going to consist of 5 major projects, starting with the lighting. First, we got to get the materials, and I got everything I needed for this office makeover from Lowe's, and they were kind enough to partner with me on this project. For the color palette, I'm thinking this beige green look, kind of like this, but we should probably talk about planning. After rummaging Pinterest, I think I definitely want some built-in wall cabinets and shelves and maybe some wall trim to spice things up. But because I have this window on the back wall, I had to get a little creative with the built-in, so I modeled everything in SketchUp so I knew what to buy. Although Lowe's has everything you need, you don't know what you need until you plan. This skinny little cabinet is a 12-inch by 30, which I'm gonna buy pre-assembled. This guy right here is a 30-incher, and this one in the middle I'm gonna have to custom build along with the shelf. So I'm picking up some 3/4-inch plywood for that. And I grabbed a few other miscellaneous items to complete this project, and every product from Lowe's is gonna be linked down below or in the video. Okay, let's get back on track. Now you can see how dark it is in here, so the first thing we're gonna do is add some lighting. There used to be a switch that would control this outlet and you'd have a little, lamp in the corner, but that was not cutting it, so we're gonna add some overhead lighting. Now, I love these tongue and groove ceilings, but that means that we're gonna have to surface mount these lights, which I've never done before, so I went back to Lowe's and got some conduit and some fittings. Let's see how it goes. First, I used a jab saw to cut a couple holes in the drywall so I could pull the cable through. I'm going to be feeding this 14-2 Romex from the switch to the ceiling right here, so I had to cut a couple holes to get through this weird piece of blocking, but eventually I was able to get a path from the ceiling there to the switch. It was just a matter of threading the cable down through, going through a few studs, and after getting the Romex cable down low underneath the switch box, I dropped a string down through that handhole to the floor, and I'm gonna tape that string onto the Romex and then pull it up through. And yes, the whole process of getting the Romex from the switch box to the ceiling was annoying, but you gotta do what you gotta do if you actually want some legitimate overhead lighting. And now that I have the Romex installed, I went outside and I cut all of the EMT conduit to size so that I can get it mounted to the ceiling. So all this EMT is gonna come with a protective kind of greasy coating, so we're gonna have to get all that off using a degreaser, and that's gonna allow us to paint it. Also, I'm trying to clean up the cut ends to make sure I don't damage my wire. And this is just a reamer that I use for copper piping for plumbing, but this is 1/2-inch conduit, so I used it here too. And we're gonna be painting all this conduit black, which is why I wanna get all this grease off so that I give the paint the best chance of adhering. And I'm using Rust-Oleum's 2-in-1 paint and primer in a black color just to paint all of these, and I tried to buy the conduit in black, but it's very hard to find. So more than likely, if you want a color other than steel, you're gonna have to paint it. Now, before mounting anything to the ceiling, I try to pre-assemble everything on the ground as much as possible by knocking out the plugs, inserting the fittings, and then tightening up the conduit on the ground. And after getting the first piece assembled, it's time to mount it to the ceiling. So I threaded the 14-2 Romex through that assembly, and once I had it positioned where I wanted it, I screwed through the box and into the tongue and groove above. And as mentioned, I tried to do everything I could from the ground, like threading the 14-2 Romex through the piping and preparing all the cables beforehand. Then it was just a matter of assembling everything together on the ceiling, which was easier said than done, and I had to go under a beam, which is why I have all these 90-degree fittings. And from what I found online, you can't exceed 360 degrees of bends in one conduit run, so we're just at 360 there, so I think we're code compliant. And then I ran this under the beam and back up to the tongue and groove before securing everything in place. And you can probably see that faint green line on the ceiling. That is a laser level, and I used that to make sure that all of my boxes and conduit were spaced evenly and positioned appropriately. And after wiring up these 4 lights, we finally have some decent lighting in the office, and we can move on to the built-ins. Now, the plan for the built-ins is pretty simple, but I hate building furniture, so I'm using these pre-built cabinets that I got from Lowe's, and I only have to build this small center one. Since the depth of these cabinets is 12 inches, I'm ripping down this 3/4-inch plywood using a circular saw and then a larger board as a guide, and then I used a miter saw to cut this 12-inch strip into the components I needed to build this cabinet. Essentially, I'm building a box that's 30 inches wide, 12 inches deep, and 12 inches tall, and I'm securing everything together using some wood glue and some 1.5-inch screws that I'm obviously pre-drilling, and then I'm using a countersink bit to make sure that the screw heads are going to be fully sunk into the wood. Now, the drawer carcass has the opening in the front, and then I built another box very similar to that one, except this opening for the drawer is going to be on top. The drawer is obviously built a little bit smaller than the carcass so that it can fit inside, and then I mounted these hinges both to the outside of the drawer and to the inside of the carcass before putting everything together to test how it's functioning. And despite not being very pretty, it actually functioned pretty well. And because the back wall with the built-ins is going to be the accent green color, I wanted to paint both the wall and the cabinets beforehand and then put everything together. And although I considered using a paint sprayer to paint both the wall and the cabinets, I figured that by the time I actually masked everything off, it would probably just be quicker to paint everything by hand because it's only a few cabinets. And moving back to that custom drawer, for the face frame, I used some 1x3 that I mitered and then glued together, and then used some brad nails to secure at the corners. And then I used a roundover bit on my router and an orbital sander to get everything nice and smooth and similar to the cabinets that I bought. Finally, I painted the face frame green, tested the fit, and then I used some wood glue and brad nails to secure the face frame to the drawer box. And after giving it one little test, I painted the rest of the drawer green, and for some reason I decided to install the cabinet handles and the drawer handle before I actually mounted the cabinets to the wall. And I picked up this cabinet hardware jig on Amazon, and I used it to install all of the handles on the cabinets in my kitchen. So I recommend you watch that video if you want the details on using this jig. It makes the process super simple. Now it's finally time to attach the cabinets to the walls using a few screws and making sure everything is level and plumb. Okay, so it's finally time to put our countertops on top of the cabinets. I had some leftover countertop from my kitchen, and then I bought a few more slabs, so I think this is gonna look pretty good. I was gonna do concrete, but I think this is gonna look better. Now, I am no counter installer, but I figured if I used enough liquid nails on top of the cabinets, and if I pushed the counters down hard enough, that everything would work out. So I did that for the small piece and then on top of this drawer, and I'm installing these vertical pieces right here to kind of create a waterfall edge. And again, more construction adhesive for that, before going back and installing this final piece, which has some weird geometry to get over to that post in the corner. But after a little bit of shimming, after a little bit of gluing, and a lot of wiping down the excess glue, I think we have a pretty decent install. Now, the last thing I need to do to complete these built-ins is build the shelving units. To do that, I ripped down more of the 3/4 inch plywood to the appropriate depth. Then I cut each piece to size using the miter saw. To attach the shelves to the vertical supports, I used some wood glue, positioned the shelves between the two vertical supports, and then used brad nails to secure it in place. Although this was overkill, I used a few square dowels on the underside of the shelves, just in case I decide to put something heavy on them. And before putting the shelving unit in place, I pre-painted everything green. In terms of mounting these shelving units, I first put some construction adhesive on the counter, and then I toenailed a bunch of brad nails through the vertical braces and into the wall. And to conceal the exposed plywood and those vertical dowels supporting the shelves, I put in this small piece of trim. And as for those intricate cuts for the shelving in the corner, I just cut that to size using a circular saw and used square dowels, a little bit of caulk, some construction adhesive, and some brad nails to secure everything together and hold it in place. Next, I ordered this battery-powered picture light from Lowe's.com, and I think that's gonna look great in between these two vertical pieces, so I got that mounted and installed the light, and once I get a piece of artwork in there, I think these built-ins are gonna look great, and I can't wait to show you the final result. After installing a few more pieces of trim, the built-ins are done, and we can move on to the doors, trim, and paint section of this office makeover. Lowe's has a bunch of pre-hung door options, but for my office, I'm installing these Belldinni Leora doors, and they have a modern kind of European look, which is a bit non-traditional, but I'm hoping that it's going to look really good in this office and throughout the rest of my home. To install any pre-hung door, place the door frame within the rough-in opening and then secure the hinge side, making sure that everything is perfectly plumb. Use shims as needed to achieve this. Then use a 16-gauge nailer to attach the door casing to the frame. Trim off any excess shim length and then install the door handle per the manufacturer's instruction. I'll link these Belldinni doors down below, and let me know what you think of the look. I know it's not for everybody, but I think they look pretty sweet. Now, the window casing was not in that bad of shape, but it didn't match the casing that I'm using throughout the rest of the house. So I cut the new casing to size using 45-degree miters on my miter saw, and then I'm using spring miter clamps and CA glue to glue all of the casing together. That way I can install it as one unit, and this is now my go-to method for installing any kind of window trim. And if you remember those handholds that we created when we ran the electrical cable for our overhead lighting, well, now we gotta patch those, and to do that I'm just putting in a couple braces and then using some drywall mud to patch everything. But I have a detailed video that will show you how to patch any size hole in drywall, so I'll link that down below if you want specifics. And this folding radial sander that I got at Lowe's made sanding that drywall patch up high a breeze. And with the drywall prepped, I could finally paint the remaining 3 walls that beige color I've already mentioned twice. And although baseboards and trim is usually an ultra pure white and some kind of semi-gloss, I painted this trim to match the walls just because I'm going to be doing a lot in this office and I didn't want it to be any more visually complicated than it needed to be. And similar to the Belldinni door situation, Lowe's Lowe's has a bunch of baseboard and trim options, but I got this baseboard from Next Day Moldings a couple months ago, and this is going in throughout my entire home, and I like it because it looks pretty modern. Meanwhile, this window casing's got me looking like the Vitruvian Man, so I'm gonna get some backup here to get this attached to the wall. Now, I can finally install this wall trim, and I got the trim from Lowe's. I went with this $6 piece because it's sophisticated yet demure and humble. With our trim selected, it's time to cut it into 4 pieces so we can form a rectangle. Ballpark 4 foot by 2 foot. And we are going to be creating a frame with these 4 cut pieces, so make all your cuts at a 45-degree miter. With our 4 pieces cut, we're going to create a box. Now, by far the easiest way to do this is to grab some spring miter clamps off Amazon. They're going to sink their teeth into the wood vampire style and pull those miters in nice and tight. They're a couple bucks, I'll link them down below. Once you have your miters perfect, grab some CA glue. I'll link it down below. Again, I got it off Amazon, and once you spray the activator, it's going to lock in that glue with an immediate bond, and you're basically left with a fully assembled frame, and you are off to the races. Now that we got our box, we're going to make a smaller box the exact same way. Width is the same as the first box, height is different, and now you should have 2 boxes that look like this. I'm going to use a laser level to set the mounting height for this trim, and if you don't know this metal laser level trick, now you do. With our laser line projected, let's turn it over to Andrew in the field. And I want it to be in line with the door casing, and the reason it looks low is because I want to be able to see the line from below. And when I line it up, that's perfectly even with the door casing. And once you're happy with how everything is lining up, I used a brad nailer with 3/4 inch brad nails to secure the top, and then I used a level to make sure that the sides and bottom were perfectly in line. Now, unfortunately, you'll have to do a little bit of math to get the spacing on the wall perfect, but between the 2 panels, I like to use a piece of blocking, and this is just a 5.5 inch baseboard, and this will make spacing, at least between the panels, pretty easy. Now, as I hang this molding, I want to tell you guys the story of Frankenstein. Basically, Dr. Frankenstein wanted to create the perfect being by combining a bunch of different body parts from a bunch of different people, and on paper it sounded promising, but once it was stitched together, the creature didn't inspire awe, it horrified, and what was meant to be a beautiful fusion turned out to be a visibly disjointed, unnatural, and misunderstood disaster. Now, why do I tell you that? Well, because I feel like I'm doing a lot in this office. I'm using kind of contemporary doors, I'm trying this traditional wall trim, I'm just doing a lot of different things, and I'm hoping that it's gonna come together beautifully, but I just hope it doesn't end up like Frankenstein and look completely disjointed. But please let me know your thoughts when you see the final result. Let me know if I did too much. Okay, so we got these on the wall. Now we're just gonna caulk everything. And this is just gonna be a thin bead of caulk around the outside and the inside of this paneling to make sure that you don't have any weird gaps and to kind of make it look a little more seamless and blended with the wall. And after wiping everything smooth, you're just gonna let that dry. And after it's dried, all you have to do is paint the trim to match the surrounding wall. I painted the wall first, then came in with a paintbrush and then painted the trim to match. And after letting it dry, all there's left to do is check it out in the final result. Now, let's build the desk. You can always go out and buy a desk, but I wanted to do something custom and do kind of a live edge slab, so I picked one up from this guy on Craigslist, and then I shaped it to the dimensions I wanted using a circular saw. Now, when it comes to live edge slabs, although the bark can sometimes look cool, you want to remove it because eventually it's going to fall off anyway, so might as well get it off first. And for this one area of the desk, I wanted to reinforce it with some bow tie inserts, and after cutting those with my circular saw, I marked them on the desk and then used a router and a chisel to cut out the indent. And although these bow ties are mostly decorative, they are going to give me a bit of peace of mind that that one segment of the desk isn't going to snap off when I lean on it. And after gluing the bow ties in place and sanding them so they're flush with the surrounding desk, I gave the entire desk a once over with my orbital sander. I applied a water-based sealer to the underside of the desk, and for the actual tabletop, I'm using tabletop epoxy, which is going to give the entire desk a waterproof finish and a glossy look, which I think looks really good and brings out all the grains in the wood. You want to try and get the epoxy as uniform as possible, and then remove any air bubbles that surface using a blowtorch. I bought this adjustable sit stand base off Amazon, and I put the desk in place and marked the actual insert location so I could install these screw eyes, so if I ever need to remove the desktop from the legs in the future, it'll be pretty easy. Overall, I'm really happy with how this desk turned out, and I can't wait to show you what it looks like as part of the final reveal. But first, we have to talk about the final piece of this office makeover, what I have called the ability to sleep. If you remember in the beginning of the video, I said that adding a home office might not actually add value to your home, and here's why. Most people, when they add a home office, they end up using a bedroom and converting a bedroom into this home office. If you have a large house, like 4 or 5 bedrooms, this usually isn't a big deal. But if you have a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom home and you convert one of the bedrooms into an office, that's probably gonna tank your home's value, especially if you put in a bunch of built-ins and make it hard to revert back to a bedroom. So for this office conversion, I didn't want to completely lose out on the ability to use this room as a guest room. And I also really wanted some kind of leather seat where I could kind of just chill, read a book, play guitar, just kind of relax. So I was thinking that some kind of pull-out sleeper sofa was probably my best bet. But if you were like me, I thought that all sleeper sofas looked like this. But fortunately, I was mistaken, and I found this product from Interior Define called the Sloan Sleeper Sofa that is going to fit perfectly in that location. And not only does it match the aesthetic I'm going for, it has an integral bed, so I don't lose out on using this room as a guest bedroom in a pinch. And speaking of a pinch, getting that sofa through the doorway was not exactly an easy fit, but we eventually got it positioned in place, and I was getting pretty excited because I could now start to see this office come together. Now, let's take a quick reminder look at where this project started. And here is a look at the final result. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this home office turned out. Although this style I'm sure is not for everybody, it's going to allow me to work from home, there's a place to sit, play guitar, read, and hang out, and it's just a nice space that's dedicated to work. That is, unless it's being used as a guest room, but honestly, God bless whoever has to use this room as a guest room because it's pretty tight in there with the sleeper sofa pulled out. All the products that I used in this home office will be linked down below, and I would love to get your feedback on things that you like about the office, things that you don't like, and just your overall thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below and consider subscribing if you like DIY content. Thank you so much to Lowe's for sponsoring this video, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. God bless.